Hi, Jeavon. Thanks ever so much for joining me on this bit of an impromptu meeting. Basically, I was wondering if you might be able to tell me about Slimsy so that I could learn about it and how to use it, how it might benefit me on my personal projects and my work projects, and also how it could benefit other people as well, and how to get the best out of it. Because it looks like there's lots of configuration options and all sorts with it. So I thought it might be good if you could maybe demo it and tell us about it, if that's all right.
Certainly, always a pleasure to join you, Paul.
Yeah, thank you.
So I mean, I have not prepared for this, so I
Yeah,
think Slimsy is very old. I think it might even be 10 years old, so it's been around a very long time.
yeah,
It's obviously it changed its approach quite a lot as the web developed. It was the first sort of responsive image implementation package or whatever for Umbraco, long before responsive images were really a thing. In fact, it featured in the keynote at Co-Garden when it was first done. I can't remember how
nice.
long ago that was, probably 9 years ago. And there was a lot of excitement about that because it was bringing something that was just emerging on the web at that time, which was when the first devices came out that supported high definition.
Oh yeah,
So like the first iPhones, I don't know which ones it were, some of the third or fourth generation probably, which supported more than 1 pixel DPI.
oh
So
yeah, I remember. Yeah,
images started to look a bit crap on those new devices. And so that's where it originally came from, and that was Slimsy One. And it used a JavaScript framework called Slimage, which also had another server side part to it in order to operate. Obviously, that was all good for that time, but then the standards actually began to evolve, and there was a lot of talk in the standards world around a picture element.
yeah,
And the picture element was born, and it actually brought in a standardized approach. Before the picture element was born, there was all sorts of varying different approaches as to how to approach responsive imaging.
yeah,
So I'm pretty sure it was Slimsy 2. We switched the approach to use picture elements and adopted a JavaScript framework called lazy sizes.js, which we still use to this day and has moved along the whole time alongside what we've been doing, and obviously is used on all sorts of things. So yeah, fundamentally, it is all about bringing responsive images to your Umbraco implementations, and it was developed and designed to make it really easy, and hence the name. Originally, it was Slimage and Slimage Easy, Slimsy. It was named by the Umbraco legend Douglas Robar.
oh yeah,
Came up with the name. So yeah, so obviously we don't use Slimage anymore because that's long gone. But
yeah,
we stuck with the name anyway. So yeah, responsive images easily is effortless responsive images, I think, is what we say. So it's all about that. It's about making it very easy. It has always been the API and the way it's done has always been made with your implementer in mind, your person who might be developing in cloud or wherever it is, who needs a really easy approach to do this without it being a complex issue. Also, of course, when we have images and we're using image rendering images, then obviously we don't have a static HTML site. It's not like we can do some clever stuff and write loads of stuff. Most of our images are content managed, and clients are responsible for uploading those, or editors. So it's all about making that as easy as possible. And yeah, it's evolved. It has evolved. There's quite a lot of new stuff. Generally, responsive images and image formats are evolving, and the most recent version, the version 4.1 of Slimsy, has some of that as well. We had a lot of people asking around the AVIF format, which is the current hot topic.
yeah.
Actually was mentioned a fair bit because of the eco credentials. So I don't know if you know, AVIF is even smaller than
Right.
WebP, for example. So it was actually there was a Thomas Morris session at Umbraco Spark I wasn't at it, but I heard that it was mentioned around how you can use Slimsy, and then also around how AVIF is good for the environment and helps you with your making your websites. So we looked at how for version 4.1 how that could evolve. Also, there is now also another format as well. You know, it's like a format explosion all of a sudden, which is called JPEG XL, which is now available on Apple only. So yeah, so it's sort of suddenly exploded into this multi-format offering verse, and of course the big vendors, the big tech, haven't come to any sort of agreement on this. So we thought we thought we had got to some agreement with WebP, because WebP was originally Google only, and it got implemented by Apple, and of course Edge is now also the same, so it was supported by that, and then Firefox. So WebP was universally supported, and we thought, oh great, fantastic, got some agreement. And then, you know, these other formats start to emerge. So AVIF is widely supported as well, but JPEG XL, which technically appears to be even better, currently is only supported by Apple. Interestingly, it was supported by Google, but they in sort of preview flag, but they actually have then decided to remove it, which is quite interesting. So currently, JPEG XL is only available on Apple devices. So I don't know. A lot of people in the imaging world are very keen on JPEG XL as the progressive standard post WebP. They think it's the best option. But currently, you know, AVIF is also widespread. So with this version, people were asking, well, how can I use AVIF? And of course, one of the things with Umbraco is it uses image sharp for image-sharp.web for its image manipulation and conversion, and image-sharp does not support AVIF currently. So we were looking at how we could utilize other services. So for example, we currently have published a plugin that enables you to use Cloudflare. So if you have Cloudflare on your site, it will allow you to use Cloudflare to do the conversion of AVIF. We've also experimented with some other offerings that also offer AVIF and other formats as well. So that's one of the things. We've also with the Slimsy 4.1, when we were doing this, because originally it was very WebP focused, we were like, okay, well, AVIF is also an option, and JPEG XL might be an option. So let's think about this and make sure that we can support multiple ones. So now you can configure it to render JPEG XL and AVIF and WebP. So we've sort of rethought it a bit, just to make sure that we're slightly ready for the future. And already we have big plans for version 5 and how that's going to change of Slimsy in terms of all this sort of direction. So I don't know, I've gone off on a tangent and probably
That's all right. I was just going to say, with all the different formats, are you able to offer all of those because you're using a picture tag? Is that right? So if that browser supports that format, it can just serve that one, and if not, it'll skip that one and try and serve the next one.
That's right. Yeah. So the browser tells the picture tag offers the browser multiple source formats. So the picture tag has multiple source formats, so it'll go. It does them in order. So if you were going to do, you put the least compatible, but the best at the top, if you like. You put JPEG XL at the top if you're offering that, and then you might put AVIF, then WebP, then potentially also still put JPEG or whatever your original format is. You might put that at the bottom as the worst option. And then the browser will make the choice as to which, because it knows which it supports. So it will go down the list basically and choose the first one going down the list that it understands. So exactly. So if you were going to use a service that supported JPEG XL, then of course you would put that at the top, and your brand new iPhone 15 will show it, but nothing else will.
Okay.
But then the majority of browsers are going to pick AVIF if you have offering that. Otherwise, WebP. The ones that won't support WebP are pretty rare these days. You're talking about very old versions of those browsers, or God forbid, Internet Explorer.
Yeah, I remember Internet Explorer was one of the last ones that I knew of that wasn't doing it.
Yeah. So it's so the picture tag supports all of those. The thing that Slimsy does, or I mean, the Slimsy in conjunction with the lazy size is that it automatically calculates the size attribute. So with the picture tag, you normally would put in a query as to how the sizes should select the image based off the device. But with lazy sizes, it's JavaScript, so it actually calculates the sizes attribute for you, which is fantastic when you've got a CMS where the images are being managed by an editor and you don't specifically know what options you're going to have available. So that's why it was used, and that is why it's used. So it does the size attribute for you, so you don't have to worry about the sizes.
When it does
Actually,
that, does it take into account the ratio of the image as well?
yes, yeah, it takes in the actual computed size, and then
Yeah.
also the DPI of the device and what the source is. So all of those things in order to provide the device the best format, the best resolution, the best size, all those things.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
yeah, that's the magic of it, really. And also, it's lazy sizes, so it also implements lazy loading. So alongside the automatic sizes, there
So
is
you get that for free then? You get the lazy loading for free.
exactly, yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's
So
good. And then if you were to be on a mobile and you flipped it horizontally, would the JavaScript kick in again then to serve the best resolution
absolutely.
for that?
Yeah. So it's all dependent on your CSS. So obviously, when you flip it, your CSS needs to change the percentage of the image or whatever it is, and then
Yeah, yeah.
it will respond. And the way Picture works is that it will, if it hasn't loaded the best one, it will load it. If it's actually already loaded the best one, it obviously won't load it again because it's already in the browser memory. So, or if you
Yeah.
loaded something larger, then it won't load it again. So yes, it will do exactly that. So you can flip it, or if you're doing a resizing or whatever like that, then it may end up loading different sizes and that type of thing. But yeah, particularly on tablets with the turning sideways, then often it wants to be loading something slightly different.
And does it attempt to load any of the other images, or does it just load the first one and that's it, cache that, remember that? Or like if there's the alternatives, is it we're not going to end up downloading more images, are we, because of this?
No, well, obviously, if you flip it, you might get a second one. So
Yeah,
another feature of lazy sizes that is available via Slimsy is low quality image placeholders.
yeah,
So this is an option. You don't have to have them, but often this is used. So this is a very low quality, very small, generally generally quite unoptimized image that is loaded initially. So it shows it in position. This can
yeah.
help. This can help with various things around the page changing and all sorts of things. So that's an option. It's called LQUIP, or low quality image placeholders. So that's an
Oh,
option.
right.
So you might load that first of all, and then it will load if it needed, because it's lazy. So it won't load it unless it. But as you're scrolling down, if it's needed, it will then load the correct one for the DPI and the size of the computer size, all that stuff. And it will load it once. So it will choose the format and it will choose the best size possible for the space and the device. So it should just get one load, as well as the low quality image
Nice.
placeholder, if you've chosen that.
Yeah, I think I did a bit with lazy images a while ago, and I played around. There was a library that made some images, like it used shapes. I can't remember what it was called, but like triangular shapes or something like that. And you could have that saved as a SVG, so it's really low size, and you use that as your LQUIP or whatever
Oh
you
yeah.
call it in place
Yeah.
before the actual image loads.
Yeah.
Did Does it help? Is there anything like where it can generate any images like that of the low quality images, or is it just literally just using the query string for a smaller size?
So we recommend in our examples that your LQUIP is two things. One, it is very low quality, normally 20%.
Yeah,
It is very small, and then we think that it should be then scaled with CSS. So it's kind of, to some degree, it's kind of blurry of the actual image.
yeah,
So if you do see it, which you often don't, most people are on fast internet, but more on mobile. If you're on some slightly bad 3G or whatever, then you might see it. But it's a sort of very small version of the image, and you might see it, and then of course as it loads the proper image, then it comes into focus. So yeah, LQUIP is a thing. With Slimsy, it's an option when you're rendering whether or not you want the LQUIP or not. Um,
okay. So
but
do you use this on every project then?
yes, we do. Yeah.
Yeah,
So yeah. So with version 4 for Umbraco 10, 11, 12, it's a tag helper. So it's
right,
very
okay.
easy to implement. So you just, instead of an image tag, you just do Slimsy picture. And then
Slimsy picture, yeah.
and then there are a few options around that. There are also with the new version some options around the tag helper. So we've implemented a lot of other additional things like support for more accessible images, so things like decorative attributes. And also, what's the other one? We did another new one recently, and I can't remember what it's called. What is it called? I've got it here somewhere. Prefetch, I think, fetch priority. That's another new option.
Oh, okay. So you can add that as an attribute to the image.
Yeah.
So
So,
yeah, right. But to
so
your
you
tag helper, and when it generates the picture tag, it adds those prefetch
yeah
and all of those things.
yeah exactly yeah. So
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
So alt text and all that sort of stuff is also supported for accessibility. Decorative is an option as well. So you can say this particular image is decorative because with the tag helper, it's rendering a picture, it's rendering sources, and then it's rendering the actual image. And of course, you want the decorative to be on that. If it's a presentational image only, it's not going to have alt text, for example. So yeah, it's pretty mature now. This version 4. I do need to release 4.1, so perhaps I'll do that
Yeah.
this very soon. We have, I think we've been into 4 beta versions. We've had quite a few contributions, which has been really nice. A lot of people using it. I'm always amazed how many sites are actually using it out there. Sometimes I see just look at sites that have been launched, and obviously it's quite easy to tell straight away that it's using
Yeah.
it. When you look at the markup, and you can see, oh yeah, this is using. And it seems to be used an awful lot. As I say, it's been around for a long time, so shouldn't be surprised. But
Yeah.
I always am surprised. But yeah, so there's quite a few other things.
Does it support background images?
No, it does not support
Right.
background images. It's really picture element. Yeah, if you're doing responsive background images, then generally you're going to want to do it slightly differently with a media query. But yeah, it is something we've thought about as well. But no, it doesn't do that. It definitely only renders the picture element.
I suppose though you could still do it with the lazy sizes library, couldn't you, with the
Yeah,
data BG
you can.
attribute?
Yeah, you can, and also you can actually use the Slimsy methods to generate the still you can use it to generate the string, just not with the tag helper. But you can
Oh,
still
okay.
use the methods, the extension methods, or the service to generate the query selectors.
Oh, that's okay. And so you could still use it for your background images. You for your foreground images. I'm guessing some people might already have like their own tag helper or things like that for an image these days. So they should consider you looking at Slimsy picture and using that one instead because it just takes care of it for you, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's just it's another one of these things. It's got a lot of maturity. It's had a lot of contributions over the years, and it's got the various different options and things have been thought about. So
Yeah.
yeah, it is interesting. There are different approaches out there to doing this. Obviously, this has always been based on the idea that the images themselves can be generated by image sharp. So the actual
Yeah.
images themselves, or whatever it is. So it can be other processes as well. But it's based on the idea that that's the case, rather than knowing exactly what your images are. If you know
Yeah.
exactly what your images are and what sizes they are, then of course you don't necessarily need to use something like this, and you can do your own thing. But most of the time, this is what you need, and
So
it works.
go on, that's it. So I
So
didn't mean to interrupt.
it works super well with the Umbraco back office in terms of crops, whether or not you've got predefined crops, whether or not they're global or local, or whether or not you're just using focal points. Again, they can be global or local. So yeah, it's supporting all of that thing. So you can really use it to generate the best possible performance on your front end while keeping in the back office super slick for your editors.
Yeah, that's what's this thing about the incremental size? So I saw something about 60 pixels incremental size difference. What was that all about?
So what happens is when it generates the image sizes, it generates a certain number, and those are, I think by default, we generate them every 100 and 60, 180, I think, width, we call it width step. So that's the number of options available to the device, basically. So if your device then selects from that selection, and they're in between each one of those. So if you want to get a more precise image, then you will lower that down.
Oh,
So
I see. Yeah.
so if you lower that down to 60, for example, then it will generate more images, or potentially it will offer up sizes of more images to the browser. The downside of that is it makes your HTML bigger. So you sort of you got to get a good weight between the two. We find in our own implementations sometimes we just leave it alone. Sometimes, we put it down to, I think probably 60 or 80 is normally the lowest. But also it does depend on how your front end is, what sort of grid you're using, and what sort of percentage sizes you might have, trying to find something that works best for that. So it can vary, but so you're weighing up the number of options you're providing the browser against how large it's making the HTML, because obviously the more options there are, the larger the amount of HTML that's generated.
Okay, I think what I might do today is try and include it on my new code share site, because I've used my clean starter kit and put it onto Umbraco Cloud, populated it with all of my old articles. And I think what I'll do is try and implement Slimsy on that. If it works well, my idea is that if I do anything for the code share site, I'll feed it back into the clean starter kit. So if it works well, don't feel under pressure just because I'm recording, but would I be able to include Slimsy
of course,
as a dependency on a clean starter kit if it works well, please?
Of course, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Yeah, that'd be pretty cool if I can get it working and then get it on the starter kit. I think other people, when they install Umbraco to demo it to someone, and then they get to demo it with the Slimsy images as well, I think that'd be pretty cool.
I mean, it was always a desire that the responsive images, would just be a thing. Like every Umbraco site really, should be using responsive images. It's pretty crazy to be launching a site these days that isn't. So obviously a lot of people do their own thing, but it should be so easy. And getting this into starter kits in one way or another would be a great step forward.
It sounds like it's a solved problem. Why we're all working on our own solutions for this problem. We could all just improve, help contribute to improve yours if we can think of anything.
Absolutely, yeah. And we've got a lot of, I'd say we've got some really key people who have done a lot of contributions over the years and currently as well. So that would be great. The more the better. As I say, it would be great. Of course, if you need any help or anything, any advice with it, then let me know.
I've got one last question, and it's about the license for Image Sharp. So there's a different license for Image Sharp v3, from my understanding, and I think the difference is when you use Image Sharp as a direct dependency and not as the one that, because it came with Umbraco and Umbraco's using it, so you get to use it. But if you're using the APIs yourself in your code, then you actually are liable for the license.
That's right, yeah.
So, how does it work with Slimsy?
So Slimsy is just using Umbraco methods. So it's using only get crop URL methods basically of Umbraco in one way or another. So it's just a wrapper on that. So it's not using Image Sharp directly. It's using Umbraco.
Oh, cool. So we're okay.
Exactly. Yeah. No, there's no direct Image Sharp in it.
Lovely. Even better then. All right. Well, thanks ever so much for this. It's been really useful for me and hopefully useful for anyone else who stumbles across the video.
Yeah, of course. And I say, let me know if you need any help or advice with the starter kit. But I think it'd be a great thing to get into using. Yeah.
Thanks ever so much.
All right.
Cheers. Thanks a lot.
Paul. Thanks. Bye now.